guys, welcome back to my channel. I know I haven't been posting a lot of videos of Bible study ones in particular. I've been waiting this week to post it on Easter so I can talk about Jesus' death and resurrection. So Easter is the day that Jesus rose from the grave and defeated all our sins so we would be able to go to heaven with him, and this is why we celebrate Easter. And if you know Good Friday, that is when Jesus actually died. And the Sunday before this Sunday, which is Easter Sunday, is Palm Sunday, when Jesus walked through the town on a donkey. So if you didn't know those things, now you know. And I just wanted to sum up a little bit of Jesus's pretty much what he short summary. So I want to make this video short so you can enjoy the rest of your Easter and me. So I'm gonna start at the Last Supper and work our way up to his death. So pretty much I'm gonna be reading a few things out of John, because you can read the four Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, four of them that talk about Jesus' death, and they all will have different interpretations, so just to read it. So it starts at chapter 11, but I'm gonna go to 14. Like, this is like at the Last Supper, the Passover, which they celebrate a few times a year, the Jewish tradition. And actually the Passover is actually next month in April, which actually is when Easter is supposed to be actually like realistically celebrated than today. But pretty much we're gonna start at at the Last Supper in chapter 16, which also started before, he talking to the disciples all the way through chapter 16 to 17. 17 is when he went to the garden to pray to Jesus, which he took 3 disciples with him, and he prayed for himself, for the disciples, and for us. And for his 12 disciples, well, he said in the Bible also in verse 12, except Judas, which was the one who betrayed him with the kiss on the cheek. And I want to read a verse from the prayer he prayed for all believers, which is like you and me. If you accepted Jesus, that's for you. And it says in verse 20, I did not pray for these alone, but also for those who will believe me through their word, who believe by what you say and like what you read. Pretty much he's saying like, whoever believes in me by reading the word that they read and everything, so they could be one with Jesus. And he prays that, and then he finishes the prayer. Actually, he gets cut off because the soldiers came to the garden to take Jesus away. And fun fact, John is the only one who mentions this event. Well, not this event, but who actually did it, which was to Peter cut off a servant's ear, which it says right here in chapter 18, verse 10, it says, Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew and struck the high priest's servant, cut off his ear, and his servant's name was Malchus. And if you go down a little further, all the way to verse 26, is this in between it talks about Jesus went into trial, they took him, but in verse 26 is when, if you know, Jesus told Peter, you're gonna deny me 3 times that you even know me. And this is when it happened. He denied a servant already and a soldier. So it says in verse 26, and this is the last person who he said, no, I do not believe in Jesus, says, one of the servants of the high priest, a relative of him, whose ear Peter cut off, said, Did I not see you in the garden with him? Verse 27, Peter then denied again, and the rooster crowed immediately. So Peter literally said, "No, you did not see me." Peter was the one who cut off his ear. Like, if somebody cut off my ear, I would definitely remember their face if I saw them, and which is kind of crazy to me. And Jesus went through this trial, and all of the people, he went to two people. He went to the Pilate, and I think he went to the high priest, Pilate, and then so they both found no fault in him, like they didn't see. So they let the people pick, which they got to pick out of Barabbas or Jesus. And as we all know, they picked Barabbas to be set free. He was a bad person. He was a robber, and he was just a horrible person. And they pretty much started to say, like, kill Jesus. And in chapter 19 in verse 6, it says, "Therefore, when the chief priests and the officers saw him, they cried out, saying, 'Crucify, crucify him.' Pilate said to them, 'You take him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him.' Which Pilate saying, 'It's not my fault. As you know, he washed his hands.' It said, 'I find no fault.'" And I'm pretty sure one of the Gospels, I think it was Matthew, that said Pilate's wife actually had a dream, like, they should not kill Jesus. And that's why he also, like, says, "It's not my fault." And pretty much the chief priests, like Christian people, literally said kill Jesus. Like, so-called Christian people. So be careful with some Christians. They could be fake. Like, literally, Jesus was backstabbed by he was killed by priests. People who are apparently Christian, but they were really religious. It's really messed up. And they pretty much kill him with the worst kind of death. Like, that shouldn't even be a thing. And that is evil. Just how they beat him, and then they put on his cross, the King of the Jews. And then he died on the cross, and then they took him to a tomb and buried him. And Mary Magdalene went to his tomb to re-anoint, put oils on him more, and found the grave empty, which means, and then she had an angel tell her, he is not here. He went to heaven to be with God, and then I'm pretty sure in probably a couple minutes, he came back to his disciples and met them all again after he died. And he also did many more miracles right after. I'm pretty sure he stayed on earth for 40 days before he went back to heaven. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little short story, and I recommend for you guys to go more in detail reading the Easter story, because it's very important. It's not all about the Easter eggs and bunnies and food. It's really about Jesus died on the cross for you to be saved and accept him into your life. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Like and subscribe.